reading for years 3 and 4, week 8, and this is lesson 5. This is your final lesson of the week. Good morning, everybody. And today's lesson focus, we will read chapter 11 and 12 of Fantastic Mr. Fox. You will then complete a Vipers activity at the end of the lesson. Today's learning objective is to develop inferencing skills based on a text. And your success criteria, I can infer by asking questions. I can also answer these questions independently. I can even justify my answers using evidence from the text. Let's look at some of the vocabulary from the text that we will read today. Spluttered. What does spluttered mean? Spluttered means to make a series of short, explosive spitting or choking sounds. And your sentence example. When I demanded an explanation, he just stood there spluttering. Our next word is churgle. What does churgle mean? Have you heard of this word before? When you churl, you gurgle with laughter. And a sentence example. The clown made the children churgle with laughter. Peeking. What does peeking mean? To look especially for a short time or while trying to avoid being seen. And your sentence example. The sun was peeking over the mountains. What does foggiest idea mean? Foggiest idea to show that one does not know something. And your sentence example. I did not have the foggiest idea what he meant. We are now ready to read chapter 11, A Surprise for Mrs. Fox. The small fox ran back along the tunnel as fast as he could, carrying the 3 plump hens. He was exploding with joy. Just wait, he kept thinking, just wait till Mummy sees these. He had a long way to run, but he never stopped once on the way, and he came bursting in upon Mrs. Fox. Mummy, he cried out of breath. Look, Mummy, look. Wake up and see what I've brought you. Mrs. Fox, who was weaker than ever now from lack of food, opened one eye and looked at the hens. I'm dreaming, she murmured, and closed the eye again. You're not dreaming, Mummy. They're real chickens. We've saved. We're not going to starve. Mrs. Fox opened both eyes and sat up quickly. But, my dear child, she cried, where on earth? Boggy's chicken house number 1, spluttered the small fox. We tunnel right up under the floor, and you've never seen so many big fat hens in all your life. And Dad said to prepare a feast. They'll be back soon. The sight of food seemed to give new strength to Mrs. Fox. A feast it shall be, she said, standing up. Oh, what a fantastic fox your father is. Hurry up, child, and start plucking those chickens. Far away down in the tunnel, the fantastic Mr. Fox was saying, Now for the next bit, my darlings. This one will be as easy as pie. All we have to do is dig another little tunnel from here to there. To where, Dad? Don't ask so many questions. Start digging. Okay, we're going to read chapter 12 as well today. And chapter 12 is Badger. Mr. Fox and the 3 remaining small foxes dug fast and straight. They were all too excited now to feel tired or hungry. They knew they were going to have a whacking great feast before long, and the fact that it was none other than Boggis's chickens they were going to eat made them chuggle with laughter every time they thought of it. It was lovely to realise that while the fat farmer was sitting up there on the hill waiting for them to starve, he was also giving them their dinner without knowing it. "Keep digging," said Mr. Fox. "It's not much further." All of a sudden a deep voice above their heads said, "Who goes there?" The foxes jumped. They looked up quickly, and they saw peeking through a small hole in the roof of the tunnel a long, black, pointed, furry face. "Badger!" cried Mr. Fox. "Foxy!" cried Badger. "My goodness me, I'm glad I found someone at last. I've been digging around in circles for 3 days and nights, and I haven't the foggiest idea where I am." Badger made the hole in the ceiling bigger and dropped down beside the foxes. A small badger, his son, dropped down after him. "Haven't you heard what's happening up on the hill?" Badger said excitedly. "It's chaos. Half the wood has disappeared, and there are men with guns all over the countryside. None of us can get out, even at night. We're all starving to death." "Who is we?" asked Mr. Fox. "All us diggers, that's me and Mole and Rabbit and all our wives and children, even Weasel, who can usually sneak out of the tightest spots, is right now hiding down my hole with Mrs. Weasel and 6 kids." "What on earth are we going to do, Foxy? I think we're finished." Mr. Fox looked at his 3 children and he smiled. The children smiled back at him, sharing his secret. "My dear old Badger," he said, "this mess you're in is all my fault." "I know it's your fault," said Badger furiously, "and the farmers are not going to give up till they've got you. Unfortunately, that means us as well. It means everyone on the hill." Badger sat down and put a paw around his small son. "We're done for," he said softly. "My poor wife up there is so weak she can't dig another yard." "Nor can mine," said Mr. Fox, "and yet at this very minute she is preparing for me and my children the most delicious feast of plump, juicy chickens." "Stop!" cried Badger. "Don't tease me. I can't stand it." "It's true," cried the small foxes. "Dad's not teasing. We've got chickens galore. And because everything is entirely my fault," said Mr. Fox, "I invite you to share the feast. I invite everyone to share it. You and Mole and Rabbit and Weasel and all your wives and children. There'll be plenty to go round, I can assure you." "You mean it?" cried Badger. "You really mean it?" Mr. Fox pushed his face close to Badger's and whispered darkly, "Do you know where we've just been?" "Where?" "Right inside Boggis's chicken house number 1. "No." "Yes, that is nothing to where we are going now. You have come just at the right moment, my dear Badger. You can help us dig, and in the meanwhile your small son can run back to Mrs. Badger and all the others and spread the good news." Mr. Fox turned to the small badger and said, "Tell them they are invited to a fox's feast. Then bring them all down here and follow this tunnel back until you find my home." "Yes, Mr. Fox," said the small badger. "Yes, sir. Right away, sir." "Oh, thank you, sir." And he scrambled quickly back through the hole in the roof of the tunnel and disappeared. We are now ready to start your learning activity with our Viper's Focus. And we will have a look. V for vocabulary. What words show you that Mrs. Fox is half asleep? What does spluttered mean? Find a word that shows that Badger is cross with Mr. Fox. I for infer. Why was the fox exploding with joy? Why did the foxes laugh every time they thought about the chickens? And why are the badgers starving? Why does Badger think Mr. Fox is teasing? P for predict. Predict where the foxes are digging to next. E for explain. Explain how the new characters are introduced. R for retrieve. Why does Mrs. Fox think she's dreaming? What does Mrs. Fox say about preparing? And who does Mr. Fox meet in the tunnel? Where does a small badger go? S for summarise. Summarise why the badgers are trapped in less than 15 words. And today's plenary. What do you think will happen in chapter 13? Can you predict what you think will happen in the next chapter? We will have to wait until next week to find out how close your prediction was. Reflection. How well did you do today? Did you achieve all the success criteria? Well done, everybody. Great work.